My husband ordered me to apologize to his female best friend, because I embarrassed her by speaking the truth. When I refused, he slammed his fist and shouted, "Apologize or I'll leave." I agreed. I went to her house, looked her straight in the eye and told her to her face this. You know what I've realized? The moment a man demands your silence is the moment you realize he's already made a fool of you behind your back. He stood in our kitchen, red in the face, pointing toward the front door like I was some damn employee of his who'd spoken out of turn. And I just stared at him, trying to understand how we got here. But really, I already knew. It started with the late nights, not at work because he doesn't have a job, but out thinking. That's what he said he was doing. Thinking. Then it became long lunches with Marissa, his so-called best friend since kindergarten, who suddenly needed his help with everything from picking out curtains to assembling IKEA furniture. I'm sorry, but unless you're married to someone or paying them, no man spends 4 hours helping you install shelves for free. But I let it go. I was working 60-hour weeks trying to keep the bills paid, keep food on the table, keep our daughter in preschool. I was even sending money to his sister who got laid off. Meanwhile, he was in some weird codependent bubble with a woman who acted like she was auditioning to be his wife while I was too exhausted to argue. What pushed me over the edge wasn't dramatic. It was ordinary. And that made it worse. I came home after one of those long, draining shifts, the kind that makes your feet ache through your bones. Walked in and there she was. In my house. In my kitchen. She'd brought over 2 bottles of wine, one already open. My husband was laughing. Our daughter was playing in the next room, hungry. And no one had started dinner. I didn't yell. I didn't even raise my voice. I just said to her, clear and calm, "You're ruining my family. You know what you're doing and I'm telling you right now it ends today." She didn't say a word. Just grabbed her purse and left like she couldn't get out fast enough. I went to bed thinking that was the end of it. But the next morning my husband came into the bedroom, slammed the door and stood over me like he was about to deliver a punishment. "She cried all night," he said. "You humiliated her. She was just trying to help." I laughed. Actually laughed. Help. Then he said the one thing that made the decision for me. "Apologize to her," he said. "Or I'll leave." No conversation. No hesitation. Just a command. Like I was the villain. Like I owed that woman something for speaking the truth in my own home. And that's when something inside me snapped. But not in the way he expected. I looked at him and said fine. I'll go apologize. That afternoon I drove to her place. Knocked once. She opened the door like she already thought she'd won. Like she thought I was coming to grovel. I looked her right in the eye. And I told her exactly what I came to say. What I said made her go pale. Not just pale, frozen. 2 minutes later my husband burst through her front door, yelling like someone had died. In a way something had. She opened the door like she was already celebrating. Like she just won some prize she'd been playing for all year. I didn't wait for her to invite me in. I didn't need to. I stayed right on the porch and said what I came to say. "This is your problem now." She blinked like she hadn't heard me right. Kept going. "I'm done. You can have him. I'm filing for divorce." Her mouth opened but nothing came out. For once she had no comeback, no snarky little grin, no clever response. Just silence. I let it hang there between us for a second. Then I leaned in a little closer, still not stepping inside. "You've been circling around this marriage like a vulture for years. Now the body's yours. He's all yours. No money, no direction, no job. Good luck." Her face changed. Not just the shock, there was something else too. Fear. Because the fantasy had just turned into her reality. And reality, as she was about to find out, came with bills, stress, and a man-child who thought emotional loyalty counted as a career path. Then I turned to walk away. Didn't even look back. And just as I reached the steps, I heard the door slam behind me. But not from her. From him. He'd been hiding around the corner. Listening. He charged past me and pushed into the house like it was his. I followed him in. Not because I had anything left to say, but because I wanted to see how fast things would fall apart. And they did. He looked at Marissa and asked what I'd said to her. She was frozen, still standing by the door. Then he turned to me, already raising his voice like this was still something he could control. "Grace, what the hell is this? You think this is funny?" I told him it wasn't funny. It was overdue. "You said, apologize or I'll leave. So I'm choosing both. I'm not apologizing and you're leaving." He stared at me like I'd hit him. Like he truly didn't understand how I'd gotten from obedient wife to walking away. That's the thing about men like him. They don't believe you'll ever leave, not really. They think you'll threaten, you'll cry, you'll scream. But they don't believe in silence. They don't believe in doors closing quietly. Marissa tried to cut in, said something about needing to talk things out. He started shouting at her then. Not loudly, Just the same condescending, defensive spiral I'd heard 100 times. He wasn't mad at her. He was mad that she didn't protect him from me, that she let me see through their little performance. I walked out, drove home with the windows down. Cold air in my face, no music, no thoughts. Just peace. When I got back to the apartment, I started packing his stuff. Not just the obvious things. I mean everything. The slippers I bought him for Christmas. The hoodie he always wore. His weird protein shaker. Every piece of clutter he'd left around like proof that he belonged there. It was all going. I bagged it, stacked it by the front door, and texted him the same sentence he'd thrown at me earlier. Come get your things. Or don't. I don't care anymore. He showed up after midnight. Alone. He didn't say a word. Just looked at the bags. Then looked at me. Like maybe I was someone else now. He didn't sleep there that night. Didn't ask to. Just stood there for a few seconds like maybe he was going to try and fix it. But there was nothing left to fix. I didn't speak. He left. And I finally slept. The next morning I made pancakes for my daughter. She didn't ask where her dad was. She was too focused on the blueberries. But I knew the questions would come eventually, so I started rehearsing answers in my head. Ones that wouldn't damage her. Ones that didn't include words like betrayal, abandonment, or delusion. My mom came over later that day. She didn't even need an explanation. She saw the garbage bags near the door, the empty space on the coat rack, the silence in the apartment. She just nodded once and said she was proud of me. She'd never liked him. Said from the beginning that a man who needs a cheerleader instead of a partner will always disappoint you. I thought she was being too hard on him. But now I saw it. He didn't want to build anything with me, he wanted to be admired while he coasted. That afternoon I sent him a simple message. Your stuff is outside. You're not welcome here anymore. Don't test me. He showed up just after sunset. Marissa was with him. She waited by the car while he loaded the bags. I watched from the window, not hiding. He kept glancing up like he expected me to run out and stop him, to throw a last-minute tantrum, cry, beg something. I just stood there, arms crossed. When he finished, he tried to come to the door. I locked it before he got there. He knocked once. Waited. Knocked again. Then I heard him say it. Grace, we need to talk. Don't do this to us. As if that still existed. I didn't answer. Just walked back to the kitchen and turned on the faucet. He stood there for a while, maybe hoping I'd change my mind. Eventually he left. The next few days were quiet. Almost too quiet. I kept expecting the other shoe to drop. For him to come back, to yell, to beg, to threaten. But nothing came. Then my daughter started asking. Where's Daddy? I told her he got a new job far away. That he'd visit when he could. She nodded like she accepted it, but she kept drawing pictures of all three of us. Kept leaving space for him at the table. And he never called. Not once. Didn't ask about her. Didn't text to check in. Didn't even pretend to care. Meanwhile, Marissa started posting vague pictures online. Brunch for two, a pair of sneakers at her door, captions like building from scratch and starting fresh. She thought she won. But that wasn't a win. That was a life sentence. Because now she had him. All of him. The laziness, the delusions, the broken promises. The man who couldn't even hold a job long enough to buy his daughter a birthday present. And I was free. I thought cutting him off would come with this crushing wave of guilt. That I'd sit around second-guessing myself, wondering if I'd made a mistake, if I should have tried harder. But instead, once the door closed behind him for the last time, I felt weightless. No more walking on eggshells. No more pretending I didn't notice the way he lit up when Marissa walked into a room, or how cold he'd gone when I needed support. Just me, my daughter, and the silence of an apartment that finally felt like ours. I started reclaiming the space. I threw out his junk. The video game controller with the broken button, the old gym shoes he never wore, the t-shirts with holes he insisted were still perfectly good. I rearranged the furniture, changed the curtains, replaced the rug he always said was fine, but made the whole place feel like a dorm. Slowly it started looking like a home. My daughter asked about him again. I told her he had to work far away for a while. She nodded and went back to her coloring book, but I caught her drawing a picture later. The three of us at a dinner table with a fourth figure standing off to the side. I didn't ask who it was. The divorce paperwork went out the following Monday. I sent it straight to Marissa's address. I didn't bother warning him. He had enough time and opportunity to come clean, to take responsibility. He chose silence. Let him be surprised. 5 days passed. Then I got the voicemail. You're really doing this? You didn't even talk to me. You just filed. He sounded stunned. Like all this time he still thought this was some kind of power play. Like he believed I was bluffing. I didn't return the call. But that wasn't the end of it. That Friday I saw him outside our daughter's preschool. He was leaning on the fence, hands in his pockets like he had every right to be there. He hadn't asked. He hadn't messaged. He just showed up. I walked straight to the car with her. He tried to talk to her, her face lit up at first, then shifted when she saw I wasn't stopping. He moved toward the passenger door. I hit the lock before he touched the handle. "You can't just keep me from her," he said. But he already had kept himself from her. For weeks. That night he sent a wall of texts. Said he missed us. Said he missed me. Said Marissa wasn't what he thought. That she was clingy, possessive, always asking where he was going, who he was texting. That she was jealous of his daughter. She said I should wait to see her, he wrote. That I needed to get stable first. Can you believe that? Actually, I could. I didn't respond. But then 2 nights later I got the call. Marissa. Her voice was shaky. Said he'd gotten drunk, started yelling, broke a glass. Said he threw a lamp. She kept asking me to come get him. That she didn't feel safe. That he said he was going to walk back to my place. I let her finish. Then I said, "You invited him into your life. Keep him there." She didn't like that. Hung up on me. The next morning she posted a photo of her living room. Candles lit, a book on the table, the caption "Cozy Nights with my person." Like nothing had happened. I screenshotted it. Just in case. That afternoon he messaged me again. Said he was staying at a friend's. Said he was tired, broke, and trying to figure things out. Said he was sorry for how everything went down. I didn't respond. The apology came too late. He didn't message for almost a week after that. I thought maybe he'd finally gotten the point. That he'd moved on with his life, accepted what he destroyed, and was busy playing house with Marissa. I hoped, in a quiet, detached way, that he would at least try to be a decent dad from a distance. But then, out of nowhere, he texted me again. This time it wasn't about him or her. It was about our daughter. He asked if she was okay. What she'd been up to. Said he missed her laugh. Said he had some things he wanted to drop off. Toys he still had in storage. A book she loved that he'd kept by mistake. I didn't know what game he was playing, but I told him he could leave them on the porch. That was it. He showed up on a Sunday afternoon. I saw him through the peephole, standing there with a grocery bag and a stuffed animal tucked under his arm. He didn't knock. Just left it all neatly beside the door and walked back to his car. But that night something strange happened. Around midnight I got a message from Marissa. Just one line. "He's been staying in his car." At first I didn't believe her. But then I remembered that voicemail from him 2 weeks ago, where he said he was at a friend's. I'd never seen any photos of that place, no new location tags, nothing. Just silence. Then a few days later my mom called me while I was at work. Said she saw him parked a few blocks away from our apartment, asleep in the driver's seat of his car. I didn't know what I felt. It wasn't pity. It wasn't joy either. It was more like confirmation, that he'd finally reached the part of his journey where consequences caught up with him. That same night, Marissa posted a quote on her story. "You don't really know someone until you live with them." No tags. No explanation. But I knew exactly who it was about. The next morning my daughter found the stuffed animal he'd dropped off and hugged it tight. Asked again when Daddy was coming home. I told her he couldn't right now, but he loved her. She asked if he was sick. I said no, he was just busy. She thought about that for a second, then said, "I hope he's not sleeping in his car like Uncle David when he lost his house." That stopped me cold. I hadn't said anything. No one had. But somehow kids always know more than they're supposed to. I didn't correct her. That night, I lit a candle in the kitchen, sat down with my laptop, and confirmed the final court date for the divorce. It was set for next month. One more step. Then it would all be official. And the best part? I wasn't scared anymore. The courtroom felt more like a DMV than the place where my marriage would end. No one cried. No one yelled. There was just a judge flipping through papers like he was bored, a clerk typing like it was just another Tuesday, and the sound of me setting down everything I had carried for years. He arrived 10 minutes late, wearing a wrinkled shirt and a dazed look, like he couldn't believe this was actually happening. He didn't look at me until he had to. Even then, it was like he was waiting for me to stop it. Like I might change my mind at the last second. I didn't. We sat through the basic questions. No contest. No property fights, because there was nothing he owned to fight over. I'd already taken back everything that was mine. He just signed the papers like he was renewing a driver's license. Hesitated once, then signed. Afterward, outside in the parking lot, he followed me. "I just want to be a part of her life," he said. I told him showing up to her life once a month, sleeping in your car, and blaming everyone else wasn't what being a parent looked like. He stood there like a man who'd lost his map and only just realized it. "I'm seeing someone for help," he said. "Therapy. Getting clean." I nodded once but didn't answer. Not because I didn't believe him, but because it didn't change anything. He asked if I'd tell our daughter he missed her. I didn't promise I would. A week later, our daughter had her school play. She wore a tinfoil crown and paper wings and stood right in the middle of the stage like she owned it. I took a million pictures. She looked out into the crowd a few times, probably hoping he'd be there. He wasn't. After the play, she asked if Daddy was busy. I said yes. She asked if he still loved her. I said always. Then she asked if we could get ice cream. Vanilla with rainbow sprinkles for her. Coffee chip for me. We sat at the little outdoor table, the wind messing up her curls, and she leaned over and whispered, "You don't look tired anymore." That stayed with me. Back at home while she was sleeping, I went online and checked the court record. The divorce had been finalized. It was official. No more limbo. No more pretending. Just a clean line between who I used to be and who I was now. A few days later, I heard through a friend that Marissa kicked him out. Apparently, he'd been using her place like a crash pad while disappearing for days. She said she didn't sign up to be a rehab center for failed husbands. That sentence made me laugh. Sometimes karma doesn't need any help. It just needs time. I don't think he knows where to go now. But me. I know exactly where I'm going. I've started working less, spending real time with my daughter, picking her up from school, helping with her homework, painting her room the purple shade she's been begging for. It's just the two of us now, and it's enough. The other day we were walking through the grocery store and she asked if I was happy. I said yes, and I meant it. Sometimes late at night after she's asleep, I sit by the window with a cup of tea and think about everything that happened. Not with anger, not with regret, just with quiet clarity. I used to believe love meant sacrifice, endurance, keeping things together no matter what. But now I know love also means walking away when your peace is being traded for someone else's chaos. There's still noise sometimes. Emails from him asking about birthdays, old photos that pop up in my phone. But they don't shake me anymore. They're just reminders of how far I've come. And every morning when my daughter runs into the kitchen barefoot and smiling, I remember exactly why I did it. Why I chose us. Why I never looked back.